this a phrase thrown around a lot, superhero fatigue, and I think we are the antidote to that because our universe is completely 180.
Yeah.
The good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are the good guys, right? So Homelander is, sorry all the Homelander fanboys that thought he was the good guy.
Hey, buddy. You're out for quite a while. You can thank me for saving you sometime later, but for now, time to get up.
Welcome to Subtext Studio. Today, we're going to talk about Homelander. Not the Homelander you've seen 100 essays about. Not the sociopath. Not the metaphor for Trump. Not the satire of American power. We're going to talk about the man who, when the cameras turn off, practices smiling in the mirror. And we're going to talk about why the most powerful character on television, the man who can kill anyone, anywhere, in any way he chooses, is afraid of one specific thing. A thing you and I, very quietly, are also afraid of. He can fly. He can melt steel with a look. He can turn a city into ash in less than a minute. But there's one thing that makes him shake in an empty bathroom. One thing that makes him stare into mirrors and talk to himself like there's someone in there. One thing that, the second the cameras shut off, makes him look small. It isn't death. It isn't pain. It isn't any single human being on this planet. It's being seen. This is the most powerful man alive, and nothing anyone can do to him scares him. What scares him is being known. And if you've ever rehearsed a face in the mirror before a meeting, if you've ever felt the quiet panic of someone getting too close, asking too many questions, looking at you for a second too long, then this story isn't only about him. Homelander isn't a person. Homelander is a performance. The boy they raised in that lab, the one they called John, never really walked out of it. What walked out was something Vought built, a flag in human shape, a smile manufactured for cameras, the kind of square-jawed, sun-bleached confidence you can only have if someone designed it for you. You think he's a man wearing a mask, but underneath the mask, there isn't a man. Or, more precisely, he doesn't know anymore what's left in there. This is the part of the show people miss. He doesn't take the costume off when he's alone. He doesn't relax his shoulders. He doesn't let his face fall. Even in his own quarters, the smile stays on a beat longer than it needs to. The posture stays just a little too composed. Because the moment he stops performing, something happens that's worse than any enemy. He doesn't know who's still in there. Have you ever had one of those mornings where you pause in front of the mirror on your way out the door and for a second, just 1 second, you don't quite recognize the person looking back? And then you think, okay, who am I being today? The competent one, the calm one, the one who's fine, the one with everything under control. And then you breathe, fix the face, and walk out. How many years have you been doing that? Homelander has been doing it his whole life. His version just happens to be able to fly. There's a name for this. A British psychoanalyst named Donald Winnicott called it the false self. The idea is simple and quietly devastating. If a child is only ever allowed to be one version of himself, the useful one, the obedient one, the one who doesn't cause trouble, he learns to hide the real version, hide it somewhere even he can't find it. And then one day, he grows up, and he realizes he doesn't know how to call the real one back anymore. Here's the part. Most analyses of him get wrong. They say he wants to be loved. They say he had no mother, so he's chasing one. They say he's lonely. It sounds right. It even fits. But look closer at his life. Really look at it. And a different pattern shows up. Every time he breaks, it isn't because someone failed to love him. It's because someone finally saw him. Stillwell, the woman who held him like a mother.
You never met toys you never played with, Hardy Boy books that you never read.
Who let him drink milk from her breast in the most pathetic, intimate, exposing scene in the entire show. She saw him. She saw the 30-something most powerful man on earth shrink into a needy, frightened child in her arms. That was the most honest moment of his adult life. And then he burned her alive. Ask yourself why. Not for revenge. Not for power. He killed her because she knew too much. Because as long as she was alive, there was one person walking this earth who knew what was actually underneath. One witness, one pair of eyes that had looked at the real thing and not looked away. While she breathed, he couldn't escape that gaze. When she stopped breathing, the version of him she'd seen got buried with her. That's not a man killing a lover. That's a man burning evidence. Then, there's Soldier Boy. That whole arc, almost nobody reads it right. They think Homelander cried because he met his father. That isn't it. He cried because for the first time in his life, he thought he'd found someone he wouldn't have to hide from. Someone built like him, who couldn't be frightened by him, who might, finally, actually know him. He took the armor off. He let his face fall. He cried in front of him like a child. And Soldier Boy looked at him, actually looked, and said, "You're weak. You're a disappointment. You disgust me." That isn't rejection. That's the worst thing a person like Homelander can hear. Made literal, I see you. And what I see is repulsive. He spent his entire existence terrified of that exact sentence. And the one person he dropped his guard for was the one who said it. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote about this moment. He called it the look. He said, when another person really looks at you, you lose, for 1 second, the authorship of who you are. You stop being a free person and become a thing being observed, a specimen, an object with someone else's verdict written on it. For most of us, that moment is uncomfortable. For Homelander, that moment is the end of the world. After that, after Stillwell, after Soldier Boy, there's a scene most casual viewers forget, the shapeshifter, doppelganger, the one who could become anyone. Homelander hires him to become Stillwell, just so he can be held again, just so he can feel that thing one more time. And then, in one of the most disturbingly honest moments in the show, doppelganger shifts into Homelander himself, becomes him, kneels in front of him, offers himself. Homelander looks at his own face and kills it, snaps his own neck, while saying out loud, "I don't need anyone to love me." That isn't strength. That's a man strangling the only mirror left in the world that might have told him the truth.
I don't need everyone to love me. I don't need anyone.
Now we come to the scene that, for me, is the whole show. The Mirror, Season 3. He stands in front of it, and a second Homelander looks back. They talk, they argue, they almost negotiate. People watched this and thought it was a stylized villain moment. A split personality thing, a genre flourish. It isn't. If you listen to what the actor said about how that scene was built, it isn't a split personality. It's a childhood friend. A friend he invented when he was a boy, alone in that lab, because the only company they would let him have was the boy he saw in the chrome surfaces of the equipment. He was so alone that he built a relationship with his own reflection, and that relationship is the longest, most stable bond of his entire life. Sit with that for a second. The most powerful man in the world, fans by the millions, lovers throwing themselves at him, a son, a father he was searching for, colleagues, worshippers, followers, and the one steady presence in his entire existence is a version of himself he made up at age 8 to survive being alone. That's not megalomania. That's the most tragic loneliness ever put on screen. Because here's the thing about that mirror friend. He's the only person Homelander never has to perform for. The only one who already knows everything. The only one he can stop pretending in front of. Every other relationship is performance with stakes. Every other person, sooner or later, asks the dangerous question, who are you? When no one's watching. Only the mirror doesn't ask, because the mirror is him, because the mirror already knows. And here's where the show makes its sharpest cut. By season 4, even the mirror starts judging him. Even the imaginary friend tells him he's pathetic, tells him he's weak, tells him the love he keeps reaching for is the disease that's been killing him all along. That to become his real self, he has to cut the part of him that wants to be loved out, like a tumor. That's the cruelest moment in the entire arc. The last refuge he had, the one place in his mind that was safe, turned on him. He can't even hide inside his own head anymore. Okay, so what does this have to do with you? You can't fly. You haven't killed anyone. You're not a sadist or a narcissist or a sociopath. Whatever's broken in him isn't broken in you. Fine, but did you smile at someone this morning you didn't actually want to see? When was the last time you typed haha or LL while your face did absolutely nothing? How many people in your life know what you were actually thinking about at 3 a.m. last Tuesday? How wide is the gap between the version of you that posts on Instagram and the version of you that lies in bed afterward? We all perform, not out of malice, out of survival. The competent employee, the good son, the dependable friend, the strong one, the calm one, the one with everything under control. We all have a public self, and we all have something underneath it we don't want anyone to see, not even ourselves. On the days that's not going so well, the tiredness, the envy, the shame, the smallness, the fear that if anyone really looked, they wouldn't find the person we've been presenting. The reason Homelander is uncomfortable to watch isn't that he's a monster you can't relate to. It's that he's the part of all of us we've been keeping in a lab. He's what happens to the fear of being seen when you give it limitless power and no off switch. When he kills Stillwell, that's the part of you that pulls away from a friend who's getting too close, just colder, just final. When he can't accept Ryan's love except on his terms, that's the part of you that flinches when a partner tries to know you a little too deeply, just louder, just with consequences. When he stands in front of the mirror, and even his imaginary friend has started to judge him, that's the part of you that lies awake, hating yourself for the gap between who you are and who you keep pretending to be. You watch him, and you laugh at how broken he is. And somewhere under the laughter, something twists, because you recognize it. Not the powers, not the violence, the fear. Søren Kierkegaard, almost 2 centuries ago, wrote about a particular kind of despair. He said, there's a despair that isn't wanting to die. It's wanting to escape yourself, a person, working their whole life, to avoid becoming who they actually are, because they can't face what they'd find. Kierkegaard had never seen a television. He'd never heard of a superhero. He'd never been on a plane. But what he was describing is Homelander. And, if we're honest, it's probably also you. On a few of your worst nights. There's a scene this show hasn't quite given us yet, but it's coming. It has to. Homelander, alone, in front of a mirror. No cameras, no fans, no Vought, no Ryan, no mirror version of himself talking back. Just him. and the face he's been carrying around for 40 years. And for once, he doesn't fix the smile. He doesn't square the shoulders. He doesn't perform. He looks. What does he see in that second? We don't know. He probably doesn't either. He spent his whole life making sure that moment never arrives. But later tonight, when you close this video, you'll walk past a mirror somewhere. The bathroom, the hallway, the dark window. You can keep walking. Keep preparing tomorrow's version of yourself. Keep adjusting the face for the next room. Or you can stop for 1 second and not perform. Don't fix anything. Don't smile. Don't square the shoulders. Don't rehearse. Just look. You might like the person looking back. You might not. But for that 1 second, you'll have done what Homelander has spent his entire life unable to do. You will have let yourself be seen by yourself. Because here's what I think this whole show is quietly trying to say. The people most afraid of being seen, it isn't because there's something monstrous underneath. It's because they've never been looked at gently by anyone, including themselves.